I'm going to show you how to make a compost bin. We're going to actually use a compost bin for vermicompost. So that means instead of just throwing your veggies or fruits or anything in a bin and it's just going to go there and just compost by itself, you're going to utilize worms. And the specific ones are going to be red ring leafworms. You mostly will buy those off of online or some seed stores and lawn places, they'll have them, but I wasn't able to find any around here, so I actually got it from Holly, one of the professors on campus. She's the, She's the person who oversees SACS, our green group of students on campus. So what you want to do is you're going to go ahead and get a plastic tote like this. I got mine at Walmart. I think it was like $5. Maybe it's a little more expensive now. And what you want to do is you're going to go ahead and drill holes in the top of it. You can't really see them right here, but I have a row of holes going down here. I did about 1 inch by 1 inch. And you're going to do 1/4 of an inch drill bit to drill those holes in there. I tried a hammer and nail. That's not going to work. Don't do that. It was very painful. And you also want to do that on the bottom of the bin, and I'll explain that later. To start off, what you want to do is to create a bedding for your worms. So the best thing to do is to take newspaper, and you want to cut it up into little strips. I've also used paper bags from the grocery store. Anything that's basically, paper without a waxy film on it, you can use as the bedding for the beginning portion of your bin. And all you want to do is just dunk it in some water, and then make sure you wring it out really, really well, because you don't want it to be super, super wet, or you'll make the worms drown. However, worms do need to be in a damp environment, because the only way for them to breathe is if they have moisture around them. They actually breathe through their skin, which is why you need to make sure you keep your bins kind of moist. It's a nice word, isn't it? So you just kind of keep filling it up. I always do warm water because no one likes to stick their hands in cold water. And you just kind of keep going with it until you probably have about, I would say, 1 inch worth, maybe no more, or it'll be way too much bedding for them, and they'll get lost in there, and you won't be able to see your compost for a while. Paper is actually also very good for if you're going on vacation for a while, so if you're going to be gone for like a week or something like that, and you won't be able to feed your worms to keep them thriving in their environment, they can survive on the wet paper for about a week for their food. They don't actually technically eat the produce or the paper. They're eating the microorganisms that grow on it when it's decomposing. So as you can see right now, I have the nice bedding in here, and it's kind of damp. I also happened to bring along some food for my worms in the beginning, and basically it's just greens from my kitchen that I'm not going to use. You can use fruits or veggies that are starting to spoil in your kitchen refrigerator, or if you keep some of your fruits and veggies out on the counter, you can go ahead and use those. I would recommend cutting them up into smaller pieces. It's kind of chemistry and math there. The more surface area, the faster it's going to break down. So it's easier for your compost to become more faster. And you just want to put it in a corner. So I have it just in one corner there. And you're going to want to rotate corners every time you feed. So I fed them on this corner today. So next time I feed them, I'm going to put it on this corner, just to keep them moving in here and keep the compost building within the bin. After you go ahead and put that in there, I actually have my worms in here right now. I currently have another bin at home, so I just took a couple of them from there. And you can start out with just a little bit of worms. I probably maybe have 15 in this little jar here. And then after a couple of weeks of them feeding in here, I'll probably have a couple hundred. They multiply really fast. If you put a lot of food in there, they're going to grow and create more babies to to be able to take care of all the food that's being put in the bin. And basically, you're just going to put them on the food that you have in there, and then you're going to cover them up with the bedding. So you want to make sure that they're underneath the bedding, so they're underneath that moist layer. Worms also are kind of shy, you could say. And so they don't really like to be on this top surface or where there's light coming in on them. So I just kind of covered that up right there, and they're all done, and that's how you do the compost bin. If you want to go ahead and make it a little more exciting, I normally put a cake pan underneath so that if I put too much water in here when I'm making sure that the bin stays moist, the excess water will drain out and it won't drown my worms. Another thing I like to do is actually this is one of my bins from my technical composting system. So I have 2 bins, and the one that I have right now that has the worms in it is sitting on top of this bin. And once that top bin gets full, I'm going to put it underneath and put this new one on top with the food, and the worms will crawl through the holes that are on the bottom of this bin. So remember how in the beginning I told you to put holes in the bottom? This isn't only so you can drain the excess water if you put too much in, it's so that you can switch your worms from the one compost bin to the next one, because it's really hard to sift them out of there. But yeah, that's how you do it, and it doesn't smell at all, not one bit.